Hello everyone, this is student meteorologist Eric Drewitz here with the New York State Weather Center and current conditions across the northeastern United States. Across New York, looks like temperatures mainly in the low to mid 20s across the central and northeastern sections. However, towards our southwest over by Dunkirk, Fredonia, Jamestown, Buffalo, Rochester, even temperatures more in the low 30s. And with us, we have a southwesterly synoptic flow, so it looks like we're in a little bit of a warm air advection pattern currently, or we'll be about to be in one quite soon. And since because of that, we'll just move a little bit to the west. So it looks like across Ohio, temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. Same with Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, and more so temperatures in the mid 40s in Kentucky, to even some isolated 50s, lower 50s in southern Kentucky, with a pretty much just very strong southwesterly flow, especially. I'm gonna just quickly change that just so it doesn't go to the box. So yeah, it looks like a pretty strong southwesterly synoptic flow, especially over southern Michigan, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, into southwestern southern Ontario province. So decent strong air advection looks like it could be occurring. Now let's see. There we go. Going a little bit over further west, looks like temperatures over Minnesota, mainly in the upper 20s to lower to even middle 30s. Looks like in Dakotas more temperatures in the 30s, Nebraska upper 20s, lower 30s. So generally, it looks a lot warmer than it did a few weeks ago, as you can remember. Now let's go into some current water vapor imagery, and you see there's some water vapor plumes over Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, West Virginia, and going into Virginia. But it looks like it's curving off to going to curve off to our south, as you can kind of infer that there's a high pressure system somewhere down here due to dry air down here over the Caribbean, and also this anti-cyclonic or clockwise curvature that it's following. Now here's some current MODIS imagery of Lake Ontario, just to give you an idea of the current ice cover, just for lake effect reasons. Currently it looks like about the eastern 5th to eastern 6th is I'm going to change the color quick, but it looks like the eastern 5th to eastern 6th is about as ice covered. I'll draw a rough outline for you, but yeah, this is pretty much the ice cover. Oswego is actually right about here where I'm pointing right now, and then here's the shore of the lake about. So yeah, decent ice cover over very eastern portions of Lake Ontario. And now going into the past temperature changes. So this is initialized on Saturday, May 7th, 2015. So here's 8 days out beforehand. So this is February 27th on that Friday. And as you see, back in February, temperatures were very cold. If you can remember, very, very, very deep trough in the east. Very cold air locked up over, eastern half to 3/4 of the United States. Some of the coldest air we've ever seen in history. I know Syracuse, according to the National Weather Service, Syracuse had their coldest February ever recorded in history. So this is the 27th, and here's 28th. So progressing with time is the 1st. So as you see, temperatures are getting more moderate. Although we have another cold shot around the 5th of March, but as you see, temperatures are starting to warm up across the United States, and that makes sense considering now we have about the same intensity of insolation, or the same intensity of sunlight as we would in around October. So temperatures should be warming up rapidly this time of year, just because the fact is the sunlight intensity and the duration is increasing at its fastest. And today we actually just turned, well, technically since it's 12:10, so yesterday we just turned to daylight savings time. So just make note of that. Here's the past temperature change over the past 24 hours. So this is valid at, actually I could probably refresh this. So yeah, so this is valid at 3 UTC on the 9th. And as you see across the northeast, if we, let me zoom in. Not really. So anyway, it looks like across the northeast, the temperatures are over the past 24 hours are about steady to maybe slowly falling. Looks like a few pockets of small rising over here in very northern tier into southern Canada. But actually, you see a good some good pockets of warming over here over northern Minnesota. You see some warming over southern Ontario province, Michigan, for the most part. So generally on the warming trend, although there's some, I think these are probably glitches. It's negative 37 and then this 42. Considering they're surrounded by a bunch of zeros and threes and smaller numbers, so I think those are probably errors in the ASOL stations or the reporting stations or whatever of this region. But it looks like we actually have a decent amount of cooling over Nebraska, so that looks a little interesting. And I guess going into now some current GFS analysis, probably. Well, that's strange. I don't know why I did that, but let's go back. Anyway, we could update it to see the real latest analysis, because I was looking at this earlier. So let's get the latest. Oh, Camtasia Studio is not working that well with me today. Okay, there we go. Sorry about the inconvenience, folks. So currently, we could bring up. This is for 3 UTC, current GFS analysis. So we'll bring up 850 millibar temperatures and winds. And as you see over the eastern half of the United States, looks like that meridional flow we had in February is becoming more zonal. Temperatures aren't as cool at 850. I remember back in February we saw temperatures around minus 30 Celsius at 850, which is pretty significant. Very cold there. But now for Oswego, if we zoom in over New York State, let it load. So for Oswego, which is about here, we have temperatures about negative 7.8 degrees Celsius. Going over to my house in East Northport, Long Island, Long Island, about 5.6 below zero. So yeah, it looks like we're still in a little bit of a cold pocket, but definitely not as extreme as it was back in February. Go to look at 500. Temperatures and winds, and it looks like about the same kind of thing as 850. Looks like the cold air is more so locked up here in Canada. If I draw this out for you, looks like it's more locked up here. It's not reaching as penetrating as far south into the United States as it was a few weeks ago. Zooming out, I guess we could look a little bit more globally now. Yeah, it looks generally zonal, more so across the United States, North America than it was. Cold air is not penetrating as far south. Look over the Arctic quick. Yeah, it looks like we have some. Looks like we had some ridges over here over Europe. Yeah, it looks like over Eastern Europe here, Western Russia. Looks like we have a higher pressure system because it's clockwise flow. Creating a ridge over Eastern Europe, so it's probably looks like there's warmer temperatures there. I'll we could look at the 850 millibar temperatures, and yeah, it looks like you have this big pocket of temperature of above freezing air at 850 penetrating into Eastern Europe, Western Russia, around the Euro, penetrating to about, it looks like around the Ural Mountains or so. And then you have this little cold pocket right here. Not exactly sure what's causing that, but it looks like you're having that good ridging building into Eastern Europe, so it's warming temperatures there quite nicely. Going in more into Asia and Russia, looks like we have a bit of a trough over China, Korea, South Korea, North Korea, Russia on this side. So yeah, now looking over the Pacific, again, you know, it looks like we have a little bit of a ridge, but not as extreme as it was earlier this winter. Although now it's almost spring, so I guess going ahead to these are the 500 millibar height anomalies over the past 138 hours. So each block, so T-1 and T0, that's a 6-hour difference. So this is 6 hours previous to when it was initialized at 18Z on Sunday. So 18Z yesterday was when it was initialized. So this is 138 hours prior to 18Z yesterday. And as you see, we had a down here. I'll highlight for you. Although I'll edit this later to highlight. But down here, this is New York State. Just to make note, because it's small on the map, so I'll just let you know. So this is 23 hours before, and it looks like we have a trough just to our northeast, which probably was causing some very cold temperatures prior to this. So this was on the 3rd. This was March 3rd at 0Z. So this is 138 hours prior to 18Z yesterday. And as we move forward, it looks like that trough deepens over like Newfoundland, Labrador, and going up into Greenland. And now it looks like flow is becoming more zonal, but it looks like another quick shot of cold air will be occurring, and occurred over at, this is March 5th at 12Z, that Thursday. And then the trough moving out of our region, winds patterns becoming more zonal, and now it looks like this is at the 0 hour, so when it was initialized for this backtrack. This is Sunday, so yesterday at 18Z, and by the movement, I'll do the last 3 frames again. But the movement, it looks like we might actually be coming into a little bit of a entering a little bit of a ridging pattern. Strong ridge over the Pacific. Trough still over southeastern Canada, but definitely not as strong as it was back in February. Very strong ridging over Europe, especially Western Europe at this time. This was at, where was that one again? Yeah, so this was at March 5th at 0Z on that Thursday. So very strong ridging over Western Europe. I guess as a result of the trough over eastern Canada and northeastern United States to an extent. And then that ridge, like I showed you on the current GFS over Eastern Europe, definitely that trough is definitely enhancing that ridge, as you see here on the past 500 millibar height anomalies. So going ahead, this is the ECMWF on the left and the GFS on the right. 168 to 200 hour forecast, mean 500 millibar height anomalies. And as you see, the weak trough over Baffin Bay in the North Atlantic, southern Greenland. So not cold air won't really be prevalent here in the northeastern United States. In fact, actually, it looks like we're going to be seeing the onset of a ridge. So the purpose of this video is to discuss the pattern change that's going to be occurring over our region. So it looks like we have a ridge, higher heights, which means warmer air. So for those of you who like the warmth, you're in luck. And the GFS shows an even stronger ridge across, especially across the western U.S., but even over the eastern U.S. 540 decameter lines all the way. GFS has the 540 decameter line all the way into northern Quebec. So average. So that means generally precipitation that would be falling during this time period is more likely to be rain than snow, with 540 being all the way up in northern Quebec. And again, 540, the ECMWF has it, more middle southern Quebec. So again, this looks like from this we could say that probably most likely, if there's any precipitation falling during this time period, it'll be rain over snow, more likely. It looks like we have a decent trough over eastern Russia, Siberia. Now it looks like we have a bit of a trough over the Pacific, which probably is contributing to this big ridge over the United States, over the continental United States. Again, a huge ridge over Europe. So Europe's had a very warm winter this year. I read an article that said a while ago that said northeastern United States, eastern United States, eastern Canada is the coldest place in the world. And then I saw the temperature anomaly over Scandinavia, and it was pretty much the exact opposite, very, very warm. And they have very locked down to a very warm pattern. They had a real ridge over them this past winter. I suspect that these troughs and ridges are easier to build on each other as a result of global warming, because, as you know, the temperature at the poles is increasing at a faster rate than the temperature at the equator. Therefore, the temperature gradient, or the barochronicity between the equator and the poles, will be a lot less temperature gradient. Therefore, the geostrophic wind won't be as fast. So there will be more troughs and ridges will be easier to build on each other. So now going into the 1,000 to 500 millibar thickness on AccuWeather Pro. This is the 18Z NAM, 18Z GFS, and 12Z ECMWF. This is looking at it on North America, so United States and Canada. And as you see, this is the initial analysis today at 18Z. And the weak trough recedes, and it looks like we're getting into a little bit of a ridging pattern as the week progresses, according to the NAM. This is 60 Thursday, but looking at it more long range, this is the 18Z GFS, and pretty much again, the weak trough recedes back up into Canada. This is 78 hours out. Looks like we have another little shot of some colder air around. This is 0Z Thursday, 18Z Wednesday. So about Wednesday afternoon, a little blast of cold air will come into our region according to the GFS, but should recede then again on Saturday. And then looks like a short wave trough is coming out of Canada and positively tilted. And then it looks like we might have another blast of some cool air, but this is 234 hours out. So this is the accuracy on this is very very low when you get this far out. Looking at the Euro now quick. I'm just gonna zip through this. Yeah, short weak trough in the east recedes, and then it looks like we have another weak trough setting up from a little blast of cold air, but the Euro doesn't look like it's getting as cold. Again, it looks like it shows that little trough, that little trough setting up again, small trough setting up again across the northeastern United States, and again, pattern looks to be a lot more zonal than it was last month. So temperatures, I would suspect, would be a lot more seasonable than they were in February. This is just the same thing, but zooming over the northeast. So I'll just go through this really quick because we just saw this. But yeah, you see the cold air originally receding, the trough receding into Canada. So trough recedes into Canada, then trough comes back. trough comes back around. This is Sunday, so later this weekend, and then the GFS has a trough persisting well out into end of March. Although then again, like the level of confidence that I would have at 200 hours out, or even generally even after 100 hours out, the level of confidence I would have past this point right here, past like 84 to 90 hours out, is a lot lower than it would be before. So this is the 12Z European, and again the week trough recedes, but then a little trough will come later in the week, more towards Sunday, so later the weekend. This weekend, the Euro has it a little bit of stronger and a little bit bigger than the GFS did, and then the pattern looks generally seasonable, so it doesn't really look that interesting. And this is the 850 millibar heights, temperatures, and winds, and relative humidities. So this is the 18Z NAM initial analysis, and again showing relatively dry air at 850 for most of the time. Relatively dry air at 850 for most of the time during this week. There's the GFS again. Relatively dry air over central New York for the majority of the week. Some real dry air over at us 18Z Thursday, so 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Thursday. Some real dry air will be over us according to GFS, and that's in agreement with the Euro. So the pattern doesn't look very active, although later in the week, when I was writing my forecast discussion, looks like we could have possibly a wintry mix, rain-snow mix this weekend, but then that'll move out of the way. And then dry air will build in. And as you see, the 200 something hours out, 216, 222 hours out, depending on if you're looking at the 18Z GFS or the 12Z European. Very decently in agreement up until about 0Z Wednesday on March 18th. So 222 to 228 hours out. But yeah, the weather patterns aren't looking very interesting. However, this is a noticeable pattern shift from what we're used to. Here are the 10-meter winds. Again, initial analysis at 18Z on the NAM, showing winds generally more out of the south than they were last month. Last month they were mostly out of the north, the west, northwest. So last month we had a lot of cold air advection, but it looks like this month we'll have more warm air advection taking place. So to give you an idea, I'm just going to go through this quick because I don't want to be too long. But yeah, it looks like we have a little bit of a cold air advection pattern towards the towards Sunday, and that makes sense because that shows you the 850 wind showed that, and as well as that little trough that came across the east. So I'll zip through cloud cover real quick. Generally, the NAM has clouds. I remember when I was doing my forecast session, relatively clear, partly cloudy for most of the week up until later in the week when we have that large scale disturbance pass into our region. That will obviously create more overcast. And so this is the 2-meter temperatures, and so this is very important. So looks like this is 18Z Monday, so this is around tomorrow's high temperature. This is the NAM, and it shows temperatures, low to mid 30s for in-state, and very consistent. Although the Euro's been a little bit warmer than the GFS and the NAM on both scenarios. The Euro is the one that's a little bit of the oddball this time. The Euro shows temperatures more towards upper 30s to lower 40s. And this is the 4-kilometer high-res NAM. Now note, the 4-kilometer high-res NAM for a lot of this winter has been having a cold biases due to ice estimation errors. It's been overestimating the amount of ice on Lake Ontario, which made it have biases towards colder temperatures. So this is 18Z or 2 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Daylight Time, and temperatures, yeah, in the low to middle 30s across state. No, sorry. Looking ahead, let's go to Sunday, just because there's that potential storm this weekend. So then both models have been hitting at potential storm this weekend. So yeah, temperatures look like they would be around freezing, but then by 18Z Saturday, it looks like if any precipitation falls, it's most likely to be rain over the state. So let's go to 18Z Sunday quick. We'll first start with 12Z Sunday. And you see the models don't really have it getting really that cold, so the rain snow mix would probably be the best way to put it at this time, just because it looks like the region will be partially above and partially below freezing. Although this looks interesting right now. This is the 18Z ECMWF for the forecasted for this is 12Z ECMWF forecasted for 18Z Sunday the 15th, and you see a little shot of cold air engulfing the Great Lakes, and also this little shot of cold air. But then you see over to our west, you see 60s, 50s, and 60s, and then you see a really tight gradient over here. So that's pretty interesting. Probably my hypothesis would be because the lakes are so cold, they have ice covered, they'll reflect a lot of the sunlight, so that'll keep the temperatures colder. And also the snow and ice always keeps temperatures colder. So this is going later into the week. Let's go to Sunday, because there was that trough that would be coming into our region. However, it doesn't look too strong. And then going ahead, looks like we have a cold shot starting on Wednesday next week, but the European and the GFS aren't in that much of agreement, so it's not really worth our time to forecast this right now. So this is pretty much wrapping things up for the pattern change. Again, this is student meteorologist Eric Drewitz here with the New York State Weather Center, and all of you enjoy the warmer weather if you like it. Snow lovers like myself, yes, it's depressing, I know, but spring is around the corner, and stock up on your pollen allergy medications. This is meteorologist Eric Drewitz signing off with the regional outlook from the pattern change. Good night, everyone.